Thank you very much. Good evening. It's July 14th. It's 7:15. This is the meeting of the Legislative Committee that I'd like to call to order. I'll start by calling attendance. Alderman Massey.
Here.
Alderman Tobin.
Here.
Alderwoman Green is absent, and Alderman Green is absent, and Alderman Ramkissoon is absent. We still have three. It's a quorum. This meeting is a little bit different than others. We don't actually have any paperwork, as you will note. We don't actually have any proposal other than something that went through another channel. And the mayor is here as soon as he's available to elucidate the matter and guide us.
Well, I'll be more than happy to come here on July 19th.
Oh, is it the 19th
Instead of
already?
July 14th.
Oh, I was doing Bastille Day, sorry.
Yes, I understand, but
He went to Paris.
Mr. Massey should have picked up on that, but he didn't, obviously. So,
I didn't hear it.
yeah, he's having trouble hearing.
Paul stays too
That's
far
why
away
he's
from the
happy.
mic.
I can't hear it.
Yeah,
No,
you're
no.
referring to the request on Wickham Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Right. Well, we put in place quite a few years ago, first floor zoning in certain zones. One, the DMU, another, I believe, is C2. Is that the zoning over there?
Yes.
And the purpose of that, especially on your gateways into your downtown, is to develop your commercial corridors. And we understand now that there is a market for residential. It's a huge market for residential and for apartments, but that's not conducive to a business business atmosphere. You go into some downtowns and you'll see people sitting on the sidewalk, barbecuing, or because that becomes your front yard. In this case, it's not. But the reason why I'm stating it is once you start the old proverbial slippery slope, without having any real purpose, then it undermines the 15 a dozen years plus of good zoning. That has actually converted a lot of these residential properties and prevented them from going into from commercial into residential. We've had people on East Main Street, and some people do play a game with it. They believe that by keeping it empty, that they can then come back to this in that case was a ZBA, and say, well, I'm having trouble renting it, so therefore I want to make it an apartment. Well, it wasn't true, because once they established a reasonable rent, then they were able to, rent their first floor out on commercial. But the DMU and the commercial corridors are absolute. When we have made a mistake, we acknowledged it recently with East Avenue, when the zoning on 44, I think it was 44 or 46 East Avenue, we included that in the DMU, and that prohibited first floor occupancy. We did recognize that that didn't belong there, and we made the zoning change. But to undermine the integrity of our code and of our DMU and of our bid district for the purpose of one person making it easier on them or making to make more money in the residential rental market, I think would do a disservice. We're investing $12 million up the street in the O&W. You come down, you have the old Anthony's Bar, you have commercial next door to that. You have commercial all the way down the street. You have commercial across the street at 126. You have commercial at the corner of Grove. Between 126 and Grove, you have another building there. There used to be the alarm company, PN Alarm. So you have an area that is the gateway into downtown. It should remain commercial with upper floor residential, similar to what we have in the rest of downtown.
All right, it seems fairly open and shut, but I'll start with comments from any members of the committee. Alderman Massey, do you have anything you want to add, state, clarify,
Actually,
or
I've had
challenge?
conversations with the mayor, and Kevin and I have had conversations, and living there in the first ward, and I only live right around the corner, I totally agree that what we've set, we should continue with.
Thank you. Alderman Tobin?
I agree. I mean, it's all urban planning. It doesn't, these downtowns don't happen by accident. You need to be smart and, work your zoning.
Alderman?
I agree with the mayor.
Agreed.
And don't forget, we also have, we have increased upper floor residential opportunities for people. So there is plenty of opportunity for residential housing. We've increased residential housing in downtown, not only market rate, but also affordable workforce housing in the downtown area with the Mill Project and others. So and we have other residential properties, 48 North, Class E Leather. Those are large projects coming on board. So I think it makes sense to do what we're doing.
Thank you. Alderman Witt?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and I open myself to be corrected here, but 5 or 6 years ago, that big apartment building complex, we made them go commercial on the first floor. That was residential on the first floor.
I'm not sure which one you were talking about
It's-
on Grove?
Yeah, on the end
Yeah,
of Grove there,
yeah.
that, at one point, that was residential on the first floor, and they changed that. We changed that like
I'm
5,
not,
6 years ago.
I'm not sure, but I know next to it were 40 Grove, I think it is.
I could
where-
have the wrong address. It's
Yeah.
multi-unit. I mean.
Yeah, there's two of them side by side.
It's sort of like an open, like, it looks like you can, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
We
but
did
there's
it right
two,
across
there's
the
two
street.
properties next to each other, but the one in 40 Grove, there was an attempt to go residential, and we maintained it as,
Okay,
as
yeah.
correct. And then, then you start, then all of a sudden you're down Grove Street, you got law offices, you have a funeral home, you have a couple of funeral homes,
Yeah.
you have other businesses that are, would be negatively impacted by increasing residential development, but I know which one you're talking about, I think.
Thank you, Alderman Witt. Alderman Kleiner?
Thank you. I haven't looked at this recently at all. I know it's come up in the past for some of the, I think the houses on the other side of Wickham, on what would be the north side of Wickham, because it's kind of some steep steps and stuff. So it wouldn't be good for retail, but it's fine for offices. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what the plan has been. And if somebody really wants to contest it, I guess they could still go to the ZBA and ask
Correct.
for a variance, correct?
Well, ironically, the property owner that's requesting it is a dental office next door to this property. So there's similar houses, so it's, they themselves are located there at the request. But as I said, they're using the rear for parking for their business. I believe that's why he acquired the property, which is okay, but you can't change the use because you own now two properties.
Right. Okay, no, I'm on board with
Thank you.
the general feeling.
So once again, and that's the only business before the committee, acknowledging that there is no formal request in paper. I'm nonetheless going to put on the floor a motion that we accept the mayor's recommendation with respect to an inquiry with property on Wickham Avenue. I need a second from Mr. Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
I got it. No opposed. All right, that carries. City clerk, district clerk, city clerk, see now you got me doing it. Could you do me a favor and draft some kind of a correspondence for my signature indicating we've discussed it and the request has been declined? Thank you very much. I stand corrected. It is July 19th, and I'd like to call this committee meeting to a close. I make a motion. Mr. Massey seconds. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much.